I always just kind of thought, everything is normal, right? Until it's no longer normal, right? And so growing up, things just kind of spiraled, but they all felt normal to me.
Welcome back, Courage, Confidence, and Connections podcast fans. I'm Janice Debo, your host, and my guest today is Mike Newell, and he has a lot to share. Probably get some really good advice here. We'll get to hear his story. Welcome, Mike.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a blessing to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I really am because you've got quite a story to tell, and I know that you can encourage people. And as far as I can recall, you've got a book out as well, right? Did you
Yep, two actually.
too? Oh my goodness, you're ahead of me. I've only got one. I better get busy and catch up here. Well, would you introduce yourself to our audience and then we'll get going on some fun questions?
Yeah, so my name is Mike Newell. I'm a first and foremost a husband, a father. I would say fitness advocate is a very polite way of putting it. I'm a recovering addict. My clean date is 10/24/19. And really like my life, if I had to simplify it in three words, it's faith, family, and fitness. And if those three things line up, then everything else just kind of falls in place.
Absolutely. That sounds great. Well, I've known you for a few years, but we haven't actually met, even though we don't live that far apart, probably.
True.
Yeah. And so you said you've been clean for what, 6 years now almost or thereabouts.
Almost.
Yes, let's get into where you were before all that happened and that transition started, if you don't mind, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, so actually like in the best way I could put this is like I always just kind of thought, everything is normal, right? Until it's no longer normal, right? And so growing up, things just kind of spiraled, but they all felt normal to me, right? Like my parents split up before I was 3,
Oh
and
my.
then my dad moved away in 5th grade,
Mhm.
and but it all seemed like fairly just normal things. Like, and then, fighting and partying and hanging out was more important than school. And, coming from a single family home, like you start seeing different ways to make money. And while it's not a lucrative long-term career, the short term, it doesn't seem like a problem until it becomes a problem. And I think there's a few pretty big turning points in my life, right? Like, the loss of my best friend, him and I actually were on other sides of the country. And, to wake up one day and be pretty irritated that I couldn't figure out why he wouldn't call me back. And then to find out he had passed away,
Oh
like
no.
that hit me pretty hard. And then, life kind of comes and goes, right? I got, detained and served some more time. And it was not my first or second or third time locked up. And I got out and had a son. And I tried to get into this normal, what people would call everyday life of family. And, then a marriage fell apart and it ended up costing me, time with my son. And ultimately, I think what led to my surrender of drugs and alcohol is I finally just thought of like, there has to be more to life than this. And I actually answered this question and I saw it on someone else's Facebook page this morning, but they were asking like what was kind of your turning point? And my son's fourth birthday was at a trampoline park. So bright colors, there's people everywhere. I probably have 50 photos in my phone from that event and I don't remember any of it.
Oh my.
And I took them. So and to be honest, like that turning point still took me another 9 months to get into treatment. So it wasn't a like light switch moment for me. I think that just kind of snowballed and started my last little path of destruction to it was either death or treatment.
So you knew you were going downhill and it was going to happen fast. I'm familiar with some of that with a family member,
Yeah.
and you have sometimes it takes an ultimatum, sometimes
Yeah.
it takes like it's either this or die. So so I respect that. And how old is your son now, or do you have more than one child?
Yeah, so he's 11,
Okay.
and my daughter is 9.
Congratulations. Great family. I
Yeah,
see
they're
I see a lot of wonderful pictures. So
yeah, they
that's
are handful.
great. What helps you get on that path and stay on that path? Was it physical fitness at some level, or was there anything in particular that just helped you to keep moving forward?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. I think that so I went to a place called Treehouse Recovery in Portland, and what I thought was unique and special about Treehouse was I knew some of the things I was going to get, right? Like I had been in trouble and gone to outpatient treatment before. And so I know like, someone's going to stand and tell me all the things that are wrong with drugs and alcohol and what it does to my brain and my emotions and this and that. And while the education piece, I don't mean to push it aside or say that it wasn't important because I learned a lot. In fact, I still have binders of notes that I took that I read and go through. But what I liked about this program is that fitness was not negotiable, other than, if you were sick or like your leg was broken. Other than that, you were going. Like, didn't matter if you were sick or you didn't feel like you wanted to go that day, like you couldn't skip it.
Yeah,
And what I learned in a very slow and methodical way was that one, for the first time in a really long time, like the gym cast no judgment on me, right? Like, weights, kettlebells, like they don't care if you get 1 or 15, right? They just want effort. And what I also realized in that time frame was that I mentally was selling myself short physically, right? Like my brain would tell me I was done before my body would give out. And that was kind of the first time I had learned of like where else am I selling myself short, right?
yeah.
Um, and I think on top of that too, there's a level of community that I found in the gym that I couldn't find other anywhere else, right? People that like truly just cared about who you are as a person and not so much the value that you have on their life.
Oh, that is really good. And I liked what you said about the weights didn't judge you. And that's true, but it does start up here. I've done some weightlifting and I loved it when I was doing it. It's been a few years, but I did it for a long time. And that's true. The machines are not judging you. You just do what you can. We are our own worst enemy. We really
Yeah.
are. We're too hard on ourselves most of the time. How did you handle that between the years as far as pushing yourself to just um to be to get better because it is a mental situation. And so did you feel like were weights replacing the alcohol at some level? Has that been part of your journey where they replaced and became it's not a new addiction. I've watched your videos and stuff because you help so many people. But have you ever seen something like that, exercise becoming a new addiction to replace drugs and alcohol or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think to some extent, like we all have addictions, right? Whether it's drugs and alcohol, sugar, Netflix, like our phones. But yeah, I mean, I think where in really in any of those situations, right? Like when you take something away that's such a big part of who you are,
Yeah.
we have all this idle time now. We got to fulfill it somehow. And so I do think on some level, the gym or fitness as a whole can become a new form of addiction in some ways. Um, but what I really believe is true, I don't think there was ever like a certain point where I felt that everything, like one thing had replaced the other.
Okay.
Where I think what I've found more along the way is that every time I've hit a specific goal that I've tried to achieve, what I really reflect more on is the journey it took me to get there. Like the
Okay.
goal is cool, but the process of how I got to that place, I learned so much more about myself and other people, and it just made me feel way more fulfilled than, all of those other vices ever could.
Yeah. When did you finish your first book?
Um, the first one I finished well, t I guess technically there's three.
Oh, wow.
One of them I've never stopped working on. So I did finish the first one I finished and published last year.
Okay.
The newest one I actually just wrote and finished is for a new kind of online lifestyle fitness and kind of mental health and community project I'm working on, um, that I just launched about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Um, and then so fitness was like such a big part of my life. And COVID was a weird time because everything kind of shut down. And that's where I really kind of fell in love with kettlebells for the first time because you can use them anywhere, right? I realized I didn't need a facility to go train in. I could just do it from anywhere. And um, in 2021, maybe 2022, I actually tore a bicep tendon that I knew was tearing. I just wasn't going to stop doing the things I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up on my couch for 2.5 months, in a cast, letting it heal. And so I just started writing things about my story and addiction and what has helped me come this far. And so I've been adding to it for almost 5 years now. And it's just a giant manuscript manual of things.
Oh, excellent. What's the name of your books?
The newest one is called Fighter Fit by Fire. And it's more of just a challenge of everything that you think about yourself and how what I really hope is anybody that reads it really challenges their own limitations and their own belief systems
Mm-hmm.
and kind of pushes past what they think is possible for themselves and really really works forward. I haven't actually published that book yet. I just finished writing it.
Oh,
Um, and then the other one's just my autobiography story of, it's from darkness to the light.
okay.
Uh, and it's just a shortened version of all the things that I talk about almost on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Kind of my path through addiction and into recovery and what that's led me to. It's led me to a lot of amazing things and people and projects. And so, wherever people are coming from, like it gets better.
Yeah, and that encouragement is needed. The name of my podcast, reflects courage, confidence, and connections.
Hmm.
So you've had to utilize courage in so many instances in your life. It took courage for you to step out and decide to get well. I
Yeah.
know. I know it took a lot. And through that, I know weight training builds courage and confidence. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, because it does take an effort, and a lot of people don't like to exercise. It has to be fun. It has to be, you want to see results too, uh,
Yeah.
when you're training. So with all the writing, let's talk about the gym. And because when I first met you, you were getting into I think it was 2020 we talked on the phone,
Yeah.
that you were just getting into the gym, becoming a business owner. So let's talk about your journey to do that and how how that all came about for you.
Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of a whirlwind of events. I had been training, and been a certified trainer for almost a year, through COVID and all those things. And,
Oh, wow.
I was training in garages and
Yeah.
people's living rooms and all of that stuff. And then when I had this bicep tear, I have all this idle time. So when I wasn't writing and things, I just happened to be scrolling on Facebook one day and I just seen a gym that I was like, man, that seems like an interesting place. I like the idea, I like the modalities. Um, and it's all about, just taking a swing, right? So a conversation led to another one that led to another one. And, then I started training there and meeting new people. And, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're going to need another coach. And I'm like, oh, well, I could take classes and help out. And, everything just progressed and progressed, and it turned into a really good opportunity for a long time. And unfortunately, it turned into not a great opportunity last year.
Oh my.
And sometimes you got to let stuff go, right? Because and I truly, truly believe God doesn't put anything in my story or anyone else's if it's not supposed to be there. And so I walked away from the gym back in November of last year and focused more of my time and energy on people in recovery and trying to help our community that way. And just recently, back in May, the gym that was there is no longer there, and a new one was built and put into that space. And I am now the lead coach in that space. So, same building, same parking lot that I parked in for years, and all the blood, sweat, tears, and things that went into the workouts and all of that stuff on that floor.
Mhm.
I'm back on that same floor. It's just a different building or a different gym, a different name. It's called True North Fitness.
Yeah,
Uh, so, everything happens for a reason.
that's fantastic. And was it hard to become a certified trainer?
Um, the hardest part, I think, for me becoming a trainer, I think the two hardest things for me was, um, one, I was right out of treatment when I started studying and doing all the things, and I really struggle online education. I like classrooms and being able to ask questions, and so trying to do it all by myself, I felt was difficult. But I also think a lot of it was I had just come out of a treatment center, and so I was still trying to learn how to be confident
Yeah.
and believe in myself, right?
Yeah.
And then studying at home with two little children is never easy, but we made it work.
Oh yeah, they want daddy's attention, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And are your kids interested in fitness? And well, of course, if they're in your house, they've got to have some interest. Do you have fun family time with exercise?
We do. So we actually like well, I had a gym in my garage and we used to work out as a family. And then the kids got a little older, and so we transitioned part of it into what we thought would be a cool hangout for them. And this generation of kids just doesn't want the hangout space in the garage like we did growing up. So we're in the process of transitioning it back. But yeah, I think it all starts with us as parents, right? Like the kids see the things that their parents do, and then, so they're the ones that they want to get out and be outside, and they want to go on bike rides, and they don't like the gym so much because they have to clean when they're there. So, but
I love
it's it's actually, so I took this, I saw it, this guy had done an interview on Instagram, and like he was talking about how he doesn't reward his children for doing the chores they should do at home because those are just part of living, right? Like as you become an adult, you got to go do all the laundry and things by yourself anyway.
it. Yep.
So we use the gym in the same way, right? Like you don't make money by cleaning your room, but if you want to come work at the gym and clean, I will pay you. And so they'll earn their money in there for sure.
There's got to be some motivation, right?
Yeah, I gotta motivate them somehow.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, it's good to get your kids out and about too, because so many these days are couch potatoes or phone potatoes or iPads, and they're stuck to a screen.
Yeah.
And I've recently met someone who has a nonprofit to kind of help deal with that situation with that generation,
Yeah.
and want to help them to not get stuck there, because it can lead to some miserable eating habits. So, speaking of that, I know you're all about nutrition as well, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Do you train on that? Do you have classes for nutrition as well as exercising?
So like in this new online program that I just developed, we are actually going to roll out a in-person version as well for people that live in Central Oregon. But yeah, nutrition is a part of the whole thing, and it really has to be, right? It's like it's just like we talk about I always use the cars analogy, like you wouldn't go buy a Ferrari and put regular gas in it, right?
Right.
It wouldn't make sense. And so if you treat your body the same way, like you can go work out and do all the things and that's great, but if you fuel it with donuts and pizza and all of the processed foods, like you're just not going to run at the level that you should run at. And unfortunately for so many people, like we don't even know what it feels like to feel really good because it's been so long. And I think a lot of that comes down to just there's so much information on the internet that I think it's overwhelming. And so my approach to nutrition is just to really kind of simplify it. And I don't like the word dumb it down, but make it to the point where, you should be able to walk in your kitchen and confidently make a nutritious, healthy plate without having to grab scales and all of these other things, right? Like it shouldn't be a whole process.
Right.
And with a little bit of education, it goes a long way.
It does, and there's so many options out there, Mike. Oh my gosh, so many options. I mean, there's programs for this and programs for that. And I agree, because I did Weight Watchers for a while years ago, and it is a hassle.
Yeah.
It is. You want to be able to have some fun with your eating too. You don't want to be so rigid and so, caught up in it's got to be perfect. For those of us who have been perfectionists, it,
Yeah.
yeah, it needs to be simple and enjoyable. And of course, you've got kids, so it's got to be even more simple. You've got to have that. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so you don't have to plan a meal. Oh my goodness.
But like one of the things that we always share with everyone, like as a family, like my wife and I, we make a menu for the week, like for everyone at home. And then when we grocery shop, like we've got a list ahead of time,
Oh,
which
good.
helps keep us on track. And then if we're already in the kitchen, right, it doesn't take me any longer to cook more of the same thing so that I can use it for food the next day or throughout the week. But we also are parents, right? If we're gonna have a movie night with the kids, like I'm gonna eat the cookie, right? And I'm not gonna beat myself up for it. What I'm not gonna do is eat 10 of them. But there's got to be some give and take and reward in life too. And I think that sometimes that's the ticket, right? We get too overbearing on ourselves and feel bad about the little tiny things here and there, and like you got to enjoy your life.
You absolutely do. There's someone I'll connect you with. That we'll talk about it after we're not filming.
Yeah.
But he's a gentleman that is on the similar track. No, he doesn't own a gym or anything, but I had him on here, and he's a character to begin with. He was Mr. Idaho many, many years ago, and his story about getting back in shape after one thing after another physically. He had so many challenges physically. He was forced. He was forced, and change doesn't come easy for most people.
Yeah.
So, be it an addiction or an eating habit, or, we have to usually with human beings, we've got to have a catastrophic event or a life or death situation before we'll make any major changes. Has that been something you've seen in
Oh
your life
yeah.
and career?
Oh yeah. 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 It seems like the more catastrophic, the more change that comes their way.
Hmm.
I think a lot of it is just, I think it's forced.
Yeah, I think so too. And you're right about the general public. We've gotten so used to not feeling good. And then there's the dependence on medications and doctors and stuff that we don't know how to live in a society that's healthy.
Yeah.
It's it's just not the norm. It's the abnormal. Abnormal. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so you've written three books. We're getting ready to, when is um your online thing gonna launch? Do you have a set date for that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we tentatively launched it already.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot going on with it. I actually, and I love sharing this part of the story because it all comes full circle, but addiction and all these things tears so many people apart. And then, the redemption story and getting clean and sober and coming back together, like sharing that story over and over and over again just gives hope to so many others. And I actually just partnered the program that I launched is called Fighter, and the idea of it is really this about like at some point you got to fight for what you want in your life, and nobody's going to bring it to you or give it to you. And it came full circle for me in the whole thing. I've been working on it for years and just slowly building to it. But two of my closest friends in the world, growing up, also went through their own struggles, their own battles. They actually just texted me this morning that the shirts are done, but they own a clothing company down in Medford called local excuse me, local Dirtbag Clothing, and
Oh,
they just built the shirts for me. They started a nonprofit for people getting released from prison and other institutions in Oregon, and so we're going to collectively come together and bring fitness and faith and recovery and all of that stuff through the fighter program and the homeboys helping homeboys movement. So I encourage anybody that watches or shares, like if you have that story, share it. People need to hear it. They need to see it. And we all need to stay together.
we absolutely do, and I know exactly who you're talking about, Ala. We'll talk about that after we're finished
Yeah.
recording too, because I think he'd be a fascinating guest. He and I've had a conversation. It's been
Oh
a
yeah.
it's been a while, but
Yeah.
I'd love to hear his story because I have had off-camera interviews, so to speak, with him,
Yeah.
consultation. Yeah, but that's great. And it's all about community, and that's why the connections part of my podcast is so important because we do depend on each other and helping each other. And I want to connect as many people as possible to help each other.
Yeah.
That's Yeah, you know that about me. You've watched me all these years. It's
Yeah.
about
Of course.
it's about bringing people together and taking courage and confidence from those connections.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's story, and that's why I wrote my book by the same name, Selfless. Shameless plug here, but my book is a journal that is courage, confidence, and connections. It's it's about encouragement and helping people to get on their own path and stay on it. We're not alike. None of us are alike, but we can help each other. And there's gaps. Don't you agree? There's gaps in everybody's life where someone needs to fill
Yeah.
and come alongside.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times too, for a lot of people, I mean, I've watched it with people in my own family of, they just, to fill those gaps, you have to, one, you have to recognize them, but then you also have to know how to fill them. And I just think a lot of people don't. And so the connections and more people in your community and your tribe will just help you really understand and fill those gaps when you can't figure them out on your own.
Exactly. We all have blind spots, We all have places we can't see, and that's why we need each other. And we need to be humble and compassionate when we're telling somebody about a blind spot they may not see in their lives. And we
Yep.
need to keep our guard down when somebody's trying to help us, which can be hard because pride is a big thing, and ego of um, is. So, what is your favorite exercise? Let's talk about that.
Um, that's a
Mentioned
good
kettlebells,
question.
which I find very curious about kettlebells, but
So I'll tell you why I love kettlebells so much. And so two things. One is, the human body is not super rigid, right? It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to move in all directions and do all things. And the kettlebell for me is the one piece of equipment that allows my body to move in all directions pretty seamlessly,
Mhm.
right? It'd be hard to carry a barbell in certain directions. And it's hard to get a barbell in the car if I'm going somewhere. But like, I mean, and people always look at me funny, but I've brought kettlebells and trained. I've trained at the beach, out camping, on road trips to see family. Like, you can just use them everywhere. Um, and honestly, the like I would say personally, if you're newer to fitness or you feel like, man, I only have 20, 30 minutes a day. I love a lot of stuff people do on social media, but like don't overcomplicate it, right? I mean, even the most basic squat, hinge, lunge, push, pulls, and carries, like those things will make you feel so much better in your life without needing, you don't need a ton of time or a ton of equipment, one or two kettlebells, and you can do all of those things. And so I'm a big fan of those basic movements like the squats, deadlifts, presses from the floor, pulls and rows for the back, like all of that stuff is fantastic for you.
does it help build upper body strength as well?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, and even in there's a really great commercial that was done a couple years ago, and it's an older gentleman in his garage working with a kettlebell, and he's trying to swing it and trying to pick it up and hold it and push it over his head. And what it cuts to at the end of the scene is him picking up his granddaughter to put the star on top of the tree,
Oh.
right? So he's been training all this time so that when that moment comes, he's ready. But that's the other great thing about kettlebells, right? It would be like just, I mean, if you picked up two or four bags of groceries and just carried them around your neighborhood, your neighbors probably won't talk to you anymore. But like, you know, I mean, you would get stronger, right? And so even just picking up bells and holding them and carrying them around will do wonders for you.
Sounds like that's a better option instead of dumbbells, is what I'm hearing.
I mean, that's just my personal preference. Like, dumbbells are fantastic too and do a lot of there's a lot of similar exercises that you can transition from one or the other.
Mhm.
Um, for me, it's a convenience and space.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do everything with one kettlebell where I would need four or five dumbbells to do the same thing.
So if somebody's starting out and they are out of shape or they just want to gain some strength, what weight of kettlebells or kettlebell would you recommend? Like one or two of those and a certain weight, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it would depend. Personally, I would say I would start if you were brand new starting out, um, even just moving your body is going to give you a ton of benefit. And then I would pick up kettlebells and just feel what feels comfortable to you, right? Going overly heavy doesn't do us a ton of good. In fact, I have a whole bunch of resources and guides inside the Fighter program. So anybody that goes to the website, it's called fighterfitbyfire.com. They
Mhm.
get a 7-day free trial, and there's a whole exercise library. There's a whole body weight section just to get moving with no weights. And then for some people too, it's going to be dependent on where you live, right? Like you may go to your local store and they may have a few bells that might feel comfortable or some that are super heavy and there's no real intermediate weight. So you kind of got to just pick and choose.
Yeah.
Um, but
Interesting.
I would say if I were gonna make it for the majority of the public, I would say if you had a 30 pound and a 45 pound kettlebell, there's not much you can't do to start really changing your life.
Okay, just carrying it around the house would help, right?
Yeah, I mean just moving it, carrying it, yeah, it'll change your life dramatically.
Well, we'll have all your links for our audience at the end of the podcast. It will be
Yeah.
on YouTube as well as the website, my website. So people can contact you, they can buy your program, they can learn. That's a good idea to give them a 7-day free trial and see if that fits for them. But we'll have all those links and they can get your book so you can share that as well. Because somebody might need encouragement getting off the couch and off the bottle or something, and you never know who's going to watch this. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll put it out there, and you'll be able to share it in your groups as well. Any parting words? I'm gonna wrap this up. We do about 30 to 40 minutes, and we're all around that timeline. So final parting words, advice, encouragement, whatever you'd like to say.
Yeah, honestly, I think if I could give anything to anybody that listens and watches this is just no matter what you think you're going through, that whether you think it's big or small, if it's on your mind, then it's worth sharing. And somebody in your circle or in the circles that you'll find through this podcast and other connections, like somebody's out there who's been through what you've been through, and you don't have to sit and suffer in silence or go through it alone. So
Right.
whatever it is, share it.
Absolutely. And we're both resources, and there are others out there as well. Thank you so much, Mike Newell, for being my guest. Janice Debo, your host, signing off for Courage, Confidence, and Connections, and we'll be back with another episode soon.